You have what?
Want to watch the best in the Netzach lose again?
Daily Rambam for Wednesday, Tezayin Kislev Tavshin Pei Aleph, the 8th and final Perek of Hilchos Eiruvin. So we're reaching the end of Hilchos Eiruvin right now, the end of Hilchos Shabbos B'chlal. So that's a total of 38 prakim, and we're concluding, sticking to the theme of Eruv Tchumen. So in this pattern we've been discussing with the concept of, can you make two Eiruvei Tchumen in two directions? You can't put two Eiruvin, one in the east and one in the west. So for part of the day you can go in the area of one Eruv, and in the other part of the day the other Eruv. You can't do that. You can't have two for one day. What if you made a mistake and you did? Either you simply were under the wrong impression that you're allowed to, or you sent two messengers, each one went in a different direction. And we already learned that if you say the stam, they can choose for you. But if you have two people choosing for you and you have this problem, so then what's the din? Mahalech keragle shneim. So what does that mean? Mahalech keragle shneim, that you go where both can go. So in Halacha Beis, the Rambam explains case of mahalech keragle shneim. What does it mean to go where they both can go? You can only go in the area where the two Eiruvin overlap, where the 2,000 amas of each Eruv overlap with each other. So he's going to give an example. So if one put the Eruv, one Eruv went 1,000 amas to the east, and the other one is 500 amas to the west. So the guy that the Eruv was done on his behalf, he cannot mahalach b'mayrav ela elef amma karagli misha erev olav hamizrach. So he can only go 1,000 amas to the west because the Eruv in the east is 1,000 amas to the east. So that means he has 2,000 amas from the east to the west. So he only has 1,000. So he has to stick to that area. V'lo yahalach b'mizrach ela elef chamesh me'es karagli misha erev olav b'mayrav. And in the east, he can go a little further because the Eruv on the west side was only 500, so he has 1,500 in the other direction. But the point being that there has to be the area where the two Eiruvin overlap, and you can change the example around however you want, but that's the principle.
So the main rule is one Eruv per person.
Yeah.
But if you have 10 people, each one 10, you can have 10 different Eruvs.
Sure, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The fichach im Eruv olav shnei Eruv and elu echad b'richak alpayim amizrach v'echad b'richak alpayim l'mayrav. So according to this principle, what if you went to the opposite extremes? One is 2,000 amas this way, and one is 2,000 amas this way. You're pinned in the middle. You can't move because there's no overlap here. So if you look,
can't choose one.
No,
and they don't cancel each other out.
No. So if you look in Shulchan Aruch. In Shulchan Aruch and Siman Taf Yud Beis, the Mechaber says, there's words that are a bit differently, maybe a bit clearer. He says, if in your mind you were ma'arev the first half a day for north and the second half a day for south, meaning you knew you can't have two simultaneously, but you thought, you can split the day, but you made the mistake and you thought so. And the Mishnah Berurah says, you thought that you can divide it, but be'emes ein eruv l'chatzi Shabbos, Mishnah Berurah says. And because you put it in both places and you had kavanah for both, and one was kavanah for him, and we don't know which one, the Shulchan Aruch was also about to say. So therefore, you have the chumrah of each one. Or he told two people, go like the Rambam said, and one did in this way, one did that way. So first, the Shulchan Aruch says, if each one is b'seif alpayim, it starts with that example. If each one is on opposite extremes, b'seif alpayim, and Yadua is the Eruv Kanaway. That's how the Shulchan Aruch words. We don't know which Eruv was Kaina, so we go L'chumra. And the Mishnah Berurah adds, Liyazas M'Makayim means literally mi beisa. You're not allowed to leave your house. Va'afilu kibnei ira einei. He doesn't even have the din of the people of his city because they didn't make an Eruv. He was trying to make an Eruv somewhere else. So his shvisa is wherever his Eruv is, but he doesn't know where. So therefore, each Eruv knocks out the other one, and you're left with nothing.
Simply means he can't carry. That's all.
If he doesn't walk to 2,000 amas, why should there be a problem in either side? Up until 2,000 amos.
No, but according to if his shvisa is 2,000 amos to the east, it means where he is right now
It's really
is the furthest point of where the shvisa is 2,000 amos to the east. He can walk. Well, he can't walk towards the Eiruvin either though, because the other Eiruvin in the other direction is.
You go out of that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So the problem over here that he has kinyan on both.
You may have.
Any
You're not
idea?
sure which one.
He may.
Any idea is a kana.
What if you know one was made earlier and one was later? Does the first one kind of and the second
It's a
one
good
not?
question. Doesn't say.
Doesn't bring it down. Okay.
He was niskaven to both, so even when they put the second one down. So and then the Shulchan Aruch says, and if it's not all the way 2,000 amos out, it's closer. Thank you. So then, wherever it overlaps, so it gives a clear example. If it's 1,000 this way and 1,000 this way, so then you have 1,000 amos in each direction. No matter which Eirov was kaina, you have 2,000 amos, and these 2,000 amos overlap, but you can't go a step out of that area.
Yeah.
And then it gives the example of the Rambam if it's 1,000 here and 500 there. Now, when the Mishnah Berurah said mi beisoi, that you not leave your house, that's actually the lashon of Rashi and Shas. But I'm wondering. We said in the Perek Vav that the Rambam shita is that if you make an Eirov outside the city, that's truly your shvisa, and you can't walk further into wherever. Let's say you made a taka 2,000 amos away from the city, you can't walk further into the city. Wherever the Eirov ends in the city, that's how far you can go. You don't get the whole city. But the sheet of the Torah and the Ramah is that the city you slept in is like your Dalet Amos. You can walk around your city like normal. You just lose Alpayim Amma in every direction from the city in the other directions. You can only walk towards your Erev and 2,000 Amos in each direction from the Erev, but you have the whole city. So l'chayra, why should that be any different here? Even if you're not sure which Erev is which, but l'chayra mimanav shach, you have the whole city according to the Torah and the Ramah. So. If the Rashi and Mishnah didn't say the word mi beisoi, then I would understand that he's not kibnei iroi in the sense that he doesn't have alpayim amma in every direction outside of the city. Well, why would we say that he can't walk around inside the city? So I don't know.
So we can't say that the Erev is really starting from his house. If you're going to hold the city, the Erev is really starting from the perimeter of where the city ends.
Right. Which was the Torah's question on the Rambam, because the house isn't necessarily at the edge of the city. Your house is somewhere inside the city.
Right.
You put the Eirov of 2,000 amos outside the perimeter of the city, and now you're telling me that he can't go back. Inside. He goes to the Eirov, then he can't go back to his house. How does that make sense?
Maybe the problem is that one cancels the others. Just by the mere fact that two people make the.
Is the Rambam talking about
so there's no solid Eirov.
Also, when you make an Eirov to one side, you're officially not allowed to walk the other side, right?
Well, again, depending on whether you can walk around the city or not. If you hold like the turn you have the whole city to yourself. Yeah. You slept in the city, and you just can't go Alpayim Amma, the normal Alpayim Amma in every direction outside of the city without the Eirov Tchumen. You can only go in the direction of the Eirov and plus.
Is the Rambam's Eirov, the one he talks about, is that done within the context of a city, or is it just talking about a house?
In the beginning of Perek Vav, he was mentioning the Medina, which is the city.
So, but the Rambam then holds the fact that the whole city is mutter.
But he said pretty clearly that from the place of the Eirov, back over there in Perek Vav, from the place of the Eirov, you have only into the city could feed the midah of the Eirov, unless the whole city is within the Alpayim Amma. That was what we learned. Halacha Gimel. What about making a Tanai? So the Rambam says, you could make two in two directions. If you make a Tanai and you say, if I have a good reason or bad reason and I need to go in that direction, and this is the Eirov that then I'm going to rely on this Eirov, and the other Eirov is nothing. And if it's the other direction, I'm relying on that one. I'm not relying on the first one. And if I have equally competing needs to go in either direction, in that case, whichever one I choose will be the right one, and that'll be the one I go to. If I don't need to go anywhere, so then then neither is an Eiruvin. I'm not using either. Then I'm like the people of my city. Then I can go 2,000 amas in any direction outside of the wall, which I lose if I make an Erev. So you can make this tonight.
So it's a conditional kinyan you're making.
So the Maggid Mishnah says the big principle that we're using here is yesh breda.
Yesh breda.
That yesh breda means that we're being mevayer later what happened earlier, l'mafreya. And the maskana is that you don't have breda b'deraisa, but you have breda b'shel devreim when it's an issue relating to a derabanan. So then you can apply the principle of breda and make this kind of tanai and resolve it retroactively. Look in Shulchan Aruch. So the example that's brought in the Mishnah or Gemara is mitzvah. The Rambam just says dvar mitzvah, but the example given is a chacham. The chacham is coming, and you don't know which direction the chacham is coming from. So you're trying to cover your bases so you can go no matter which way. So the way it's brought in Shulchan Aruch and Simon Tafid Gimel is you heard there's a chacham and you don't know which way, so you put to Eiruvin. Whichever side the chacham comes, that will be yiknali Eiruv. So that works. So the Mishnah Berurah adds that the chacham actually arrived ben hashmashes at a particular site, but you simply didn't know at that time, and you only found out tomorrow. So then, bevadai, it works because that's gili milsa ba'alma. The glai milsa that was the Eiruvin, that was kind of. You basically said whichever side he's on, that should be the one that's kind of. You didn't know which one it was, but really it was kind of right then and there without your knowing. But the Eiruvin itself knows that it's in that direction. But the chiddush is that even if the chacham is rachik ben hashmashes. So it could be, we don't even know which way the chacham is going to go, if the chacham was going to come there b'chlal. Maybe the chacham wanted to stay where he was. Afilu hachi, we say that the tonight works. Yesh breda, that mamish, you're being mevayer, something we didn't exist yet at that time. It only comes into existence later. And it's still mevayer l'mafreya, that was the side that the chacham, and we say it, that was the chacham was really going to come there all along. So therefore, we can say that it kicked in then. So continuing in Halacha Daled.
What is
If you live in a city, then you can walk around the entire city. Plus, you can walk 2,000 amas in every direction from the city without an Erev Tchumen. The Erev Tchumen allows you to walk 2,000 amas plus another 2,000 amas. And if you make an Erev Tchumen, then you lose the 2,000 amas in every other direction. You have 4,000 amas, that becomes your new real location. So you have 2,000 amas in every direction from there. The city is no longer your real location. You don't have 2,000 amas in every direction from the city anymore. So if you don't want to lose that option,
by
so
making the Erev, you lose the option
of being Kibbutz, right? So
and the city is also considered that there's a house every certain amount of the distance.
Yeah, about those houses when I was a kid, always when we go to look on a highway, say, if there's another house within this, what's the concept of that?
One of the reasons why we can't.
I think now that we're learning this, I would say that maybe if the houses are close enough, less than a pine amma, you can like sort of. You can't.
it's 70 amas, I think.
70?
I know for Talucha.
What is the houses that they have?
That's a hemshech of the city. It's.
Yeah, but be careful though.
I know for Talucha, we
careful,
can't go to Bel Harbor. Why? Because the Marine Parkway Bridge, the span that's it. And then before they have the Belt Parkway, so that there's no houses there. That whole span there's no way to get to.
All right. Now, what about Yom Tov and Yom Kippur? We've been talking about Shabbos this whole time. What about Yom Tov and Yom Kippur? So Dr. Rambam and Al-Chadal, Kashim Shas, let's say Chutz Tchum Shabbos, just like you have this Isser on a regular Shabbos, as we have been discussing. Kach Asr b'Yom Tov v'Yom Kippurim, same halacha. Ukashem, now that we're talking about these inyanim, Ukashem Shamaytzi min Rishus l'Rishus b'Shabbos Chayav Hitzah, Kach Hamaytzi b'Yom Kippurim Chayav, so you're Chayav and Hitzah on Yom Kippur. Aval b'Yom Tov, Mutar lo Hitzah min Rishus l'Rishus, the whole Isser Hitzah doesn't apply on Yom Tov. So practically, so you make an Eiruvin for carrying for Yom Kippur as well, just like Shabbos, but not for Yom Tov, because Yom Tov you're allowed to carry, so the Eiruvin wouldn't accomplish anything. But Eiruvin Tchumen, we just said earlier, applies equally on Yom Tov as well. So you would need an Eiruvin Tchumen for Yom Kippur and Yom Tov as well. So wherever you have the Isser, you have the Eiruvin. Wherever you don't have the Isser, you don't have the Eiruvin. Look at the Maggid Mishnah. Maggid Mishnah says that the fact that Eiruvin Tchumen applies equally to Yom Kippur and Yom Tov, that's muskam in the Gemara. So when it comes to Eiruvin Chatzeres, Yom Kippur, Hitzah and Yom Kippur is ba'atzam a machlekes in the Gemara. The Gemara isn't 100% clear on that. It's something the Gemara discusses. But the Psak Halacha is, the maskan of the Gemara is that there's Eiruvin, just like there's Eiruvin and Hitzah for Shabbos, so there's Eiruvin and Hitzah for Yom Kippur. And he says it comes up a bunch of places in Shas, and the maskan is in Gemara Krisis. There it mentions about the guy who walks in Yom Kippur with the Sarah Lazaza, but the maskan is that there's an Isra Hitzah, and the Mamela there's an Eiruvin. Now, Benegaya, what the Rambam said, that there's no Isra Hitzah and Yom Tov. So if you look in Gemara Beitza, so it sounds like Beis-Hillel holds that. It's Mashma Beis-Hillel Taka holds that there's no Isra Hitzah, so there's no Eiruvin Yom Tov. That's the Maskan of the Rif, and he says we'll get into more in Perek Aleph of Hilchos Shvisas Yom Tov. The Rashba actually disagrees on this. The Rashba wrote in a Sefer that you're not allowed to be Moitzi Kalim, that you don't have a Tzorech from Chotzer to Chotzer unless you made an Eiruvin, because you have Eiruvin and Hitzah and Yom Tov just like you have Eiruvin and Hitzah and Shabbos. He says we'll get into it. He says more in Hilchos Shvisas Yom Tov. Now that we know that not only Shabbos there's an Eiruvin, but Yom Tov also, so that means you have multiple days sometimes in a row where you have an Eiruvin. So now we're going to get back to the first discussion of two Eiruvin. Can you make one Eiruvin for one day and another Eiruvin for another day? So we said you can't make two Eiruvin for two halves of a day. What about 2 days? Okay, Yom Tov Shabbos. So they're right next to each other. Whichever one comes first. Or you just have 2 days of Yom Tov itself. Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galius. So then you could make two Eiruvin for two directions. The same you can rely on one for the first of Eiruvin, and the second one for the second day. Or you can make one for one direction. And you can rely on it for one of the 2 days. On the second day you won't have an Erev at all. You'll be like an inhabitant of the city. And you'll gain the 2,000 amos in every direction. That's only if it's 2 days of Yom Tov, like Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot. But Rosh Hashanah, which is a 2-day Yom Tov, we count that as one long day. So you can only have one Eiruvin Tchumen for Rosh Hashanah. Now there's a Sagas Harayvet here. The Rambam says it looks like the Rambam is omitting something very important here. But then the Rambam added, "Reisi Shavaseifa Perek Chazur Perish." Right, we had it once before that the Maggid Mishnah or the Kesef Mishnah chapped someone who was masig on the Rambam and he didn't continue reading to the next Perek. But here the Rambam continued reading and he went back and he added the note, "Reisi Shavaseifa Perek Chazur Perish." So we'll see in Allah Yud Aleph, Yud Beis and Yud Gimel. And Rambam is going to add a whole big caveat. For some reason, the Rambam gets to it over there. Halacha Vav. And forget about 2 days next to each other. What about just different Shabbosim? So a person can make an Eiruvin Tanai and say, this Eiruvin will be for this Shabbos, but not for next Shabbos. Or the Shabbos Acharis, or even vice versa. It's for next Shabbos, not for this Shabbos. The Shabbos is Yom Tov, just for Shabbos, not for Yom Tov. Yom Tov, Leila Shabbos. And the Maggid Mishnah says, I think it's Tesafta or Pashatu. It's more Pashat. Halacha Zayin. Other examples of Breira. Amal HaChamisha, he tells 5 people, Hareini Ma'arev, I'm making an Eiruvin on behalf of one of you. But I'm not revealing yet which one of you it is. It's going to be a surprise. I'm making an Eiruvin for whichever one of you I decide. If I decide it's you, you'll be able to go. If not, you won't be able to go. So even though he only decided which guy the Eiruvin is for after Shabbos set in, it still works. Darushim divri seifrim yesh boy breda. What's with the Rabban here? The Rambam says clearly, so you have breda. Chena ma'arav Shabbos shel chol shana. If you made an Erev for every Shabbos of the whole year, each Shabbos I'm going to decide whether the Erev applies to me for the Shabbos. Called Shabbos year to Yelech, you can decide on every Shabbos. Even though you decide on Shabbos itself. Right, same concept. The Glai Muslim Afreya. It's like it's as if it's revealed retroactively that that's what happened Ben Hashmashos. That your decision already took. Kicked in then. Halacha Ches and Tes.
But there's still the first halacha the Rambam taught still holds true that if you didn't have anything specific in mind, so therefore you would be you cannot use both. You know the only thing of Breda is when you're saying
if you made a Tanai.
But if
there's no Tanai,
it's straightforward. So
then you have a problem. Yeah. Yes. Halacha Ches and Tes. Hama'arav l'shnei yamim tovim shel Goliath. Oil Shabbos v'yam tov. So the halachas here are about how if you have an Erev for 2 days, you actually have to make sure that the Erev is still there for the second day. So it's not like the fact that it was there out of the first day covers the second day. So the Rambam says if you have let's say you have 2 days of Yom Tov in a row, or the Shabbos v'Yom Tov, or they have Shabbos and they have Yom Tov in a row, even though it's one Erev in one direction for 2 days, you're not playing any of these tricks we just spoke about. But the Erev has to be in the spot Sai the night going into the first day, and Sai the night going into the second day. So what do you do? So you bring it out of Yom Tov or out of Shabbos, and it has to be there till dark. So if you want to, so in this case, because you want to stay around, so then you have to be there till it's dark. And if it's the night of Yom Tov, you can actually take it back home with you. You don't have to leave it there once Yom Tov comes in. So that way you're making sure you're preserving it. No one's going to eat it over there. You take it home. And then the next day you go back and bring it again to the same place. And you leave it there until it gets dark. And if it's the night of Shabbos, you can eat it. And you can bring it back home. Because each day is its own kedusha. And not like one day that we would say that we can't say that by being there the first night it also covered the second night. Shabbos, Yom Tov, 2 kedushas, and even 2 days of Yom Tov are 2 kedushas. Like we said earlier, only Rosh Hashanah is one Kiyam Echad.
No, that part. So you literally have to put the Erev again.
Well, or you can leave it there.
If
you're scared that you're never going to take it, then you take it back.
Yeah, I'm going to mention in the second for the Magam. What if the first night of Shabbos? What are you going to do? So the Magam Mishnah. Okay, I'll say it. The Magam Mishnah says, right. So obviously, if Yom Tov is after Shabbos, so then you can't bring it back the first night of Leil Shabbos. Pasha too, Muchrach. And says Rashi says clearly that the Yom Tov Achra Shabbos. So what do you do? Melicha Berishin. The Chayzer v'Hoylach Shem B'Sheni Litter Some Kayam Erev. You go back the second night to check if it's still there. You can't bring another one because you're walking Shabbos afternoon to see if it's going to be there. So all you can do is you can go back and check to see if it's still there, and then you wait till it's Yom Tov.
Or it's not becheskas, it stays there?
Apparently not. It's becheskas for the day itself and not for the next day.
No, so you see, so you don't rely just because you put it at one time that it should just roll over. Right. And we have this again to refer back to that Maisa with the Ma'aril, the guy who put the bread there for many weeks to go every week to shul. He said every week when you come to the Erev, you have to check that it's still there. You can leave it there for many weeks, but you have to check each week.
But it's inside a bakery that was more secure.
Right, in a box, in a bakery. Yeah. But you still have to check to make sure that it's still there. And she says, Mikan, the Magam Mishnah adds, Mikan, that if it's a Mawakam HaMashtamer, that you could leave it there. Even on Yom Tov, you don't have to take it back home. When they said take it back home, it was Derech Eitzah. We just assumed that was practical to take it home. If it's not a makam hamishtamer, but if it's makam hamishtamer, leave it there, sure. Now, when the Rambam said at the end, and it's not PM Echad, so L'chayr is masher from the Rambam, that when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, it should work, right? Because we said earlier, L'chumra, that you can make 2 Eiruvin, so should it work L'kula also, that you can leave it the first night and it'll last for 2 nights? So from the Rambam, it's mashma. It doesn't say clearly, but the way he phrased it, shtei kedushas, that's what's mashma. He says the Ravid jumps over here and says, "Tabazeh," that even Rosh Hashanah, which is kedusha achas, we say it l'chumra, not l'kula. It has to be there b'leil sheni. He says, "Vani omer." Maglish says, "Lo tar Rabbeinu." No mistake. If it's kedusha achas, it's l'chumra b'leil l'kula. No, and he brings a daya from the Shraga in the Gemara. He says, "Vaday kol shem kedusha achas l'chol devreimhu." He says that Rashba also agreed, and Pinchas Halevi in his Azharas, a text of like a piyut l'kavod Rosh Hashanah. Apparently, in that piyut l'kavod Rosh Hashanah, which has halachas of Rosh Hashanah, the Pinchas Halevi actually included this prat that you can leave the Erev the first night, and that's it. So Lachatas continues what we're saying. And if it turns out that you left it there the first night and it got eaten, it worked for the first day, as we know. As long as it's there for the first day, it's good. But it doesn't carry over to the second day. What if you aren't using food, like we learned yesterday in Perek Zion, you used your feet, so out of you have to walk back again. Which means you have to go and stand in that place. So this is let's say it's Shabbos afternoon. You're standing there and thinking that you want to be kind of shvisa for tonight for Yom Tif. So the Rambam was medayek. Rambam wrote v'yachashiv b'liboy. He says, Maggid Mishnah says, if you look in the Gemara says, Erev b'ragel b'rishon, me'ar b'ragel b'sheni. V'hikshu, the Gemara asks, you being meichem Yom Tif l'Shabbos. The Gemara answered, do you think Misavris the Azul v'amar midi? He went and said anything? The Azul v'shasik v'kayim. He's just standing there. He's not saying anything. That's why the Rambam was medayek. V'yachshav b'liboy. So if you go there and you just stand, so it's not meichem because you didn't say anything.
No, my problem is not just because of the Homnick. How are you allowed to make some kinyan of shvisa on Shabbos?
Remember that the Nakuda coming up somewhere in these kind. Let's see if it comes up later. Something about making a kinyan on Shabbos. But in this case, I mean, technically it kicks in mishatachshach.
But the whole point of Rosh Hashanah, it's 48 hours that considered one day.
Yeah.
So if you made the Erev at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, so you can't, and it got eaten, so it can't theoretically take away from the second day.
According to the Maggid Mishnah, according to the Rambam, it's l'chumra and l'kula, so it's like one long day. So if it got as long as it was there mishatachshach the first night, then it can
carries through.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. And then the Rambam concludes in Lachatas Erev Pas Barishain. If you use bread, the first night, if you want to go make an Erev the second night instead with your feet, that works. But if you want to do it with bread, you have to use the same bread you used the first day. This also ties into the issue of hachana. So the Maggid Mishnah says from the Gemara that this is says it clearly in the Gemara, and the Shmuel says pas ba'atam mishum hachana. So if it's the same bread, so that's a continuation. You didn't do anything new here per se, but and Rashba says that if you went ahead anyway, you did it with pas chadasha, it's taka not a native. Halacha Yud. Shabbos next to Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur Mishachol Yisad of Shabbos or La'achar Shabbos. B'zman shemekach nahoriyah. So if Yom Kippur is Friday or Sunday, which is only possible before the calendar, Yirah li shein k'yom echad u'kedusha achas. And the Rambam says his own svara that he wants to count it as one day because Shabbos and Yom Tov, Shabbos and Yom Kippur have a lot in common. Shabbos Shabbosin, so it would count also as one long hemshech. Because whatever is Asr and Shabbos is Asr and Yom Kippur, it's Kedusha Achas. Halacha Yud Aleph. So now the Rambam is going to go and clarify in Halacha Yud Aleph Yud Gimel what he said earlier in Halacha Hey. So the Rambam says, Zesha Amarnu, Sheyesh La'adam La'adav Shnei Eiruvin, B'shtei Ruchos L'Shnei Hayamim. When I said earlier in Halacha Hey that you can make 2 Eiruvin in 2 directions for 2 days, V'hushi Ya'efshar La'gia L'chol Echad M'shnei Ha'Eiruvin Yom Adishin. Oh, big caveat. The 2 Eiruvin have to be within Tchum Shabbos of each other. Avalim Ya'efshar La'gia La'Eiruv Shem Adishin, Yishalem Hasheni B'Yom Adishin, Ein Eirov Hasheni Eirov. If you won't, if from wherever you located yourself on the first day, you would not be allowed to walk and access the Eirov, which is waiting for the second day, then the Eirov for the second day doesn't work. The Eirov has to be something that's edible, that you can eat when it's still day. And if you're not able to reach, you're not able to get to that second Eirov on the first day, so it wasn't worthy, it wasn't edible. You base Ketzat. What is that? All of the Amisha. If you put your Eirov on one side, fully 2,000 amas away from your house, that means your house is the end of the Tchum, not another Amma. And it's even 1 Amma in the other direction. Never mind 100 or 1,000. In the other direction. Now it's we are counting off for the second day. The second one doesn't count, because from where he is on the first day, he can't walk to where it is, so it's not right. He wasn't allowed to take a step in that direction. If you put 1 Eirov of 1,500 amas in one direction for the first day, and you put the other Eirov within 500 amas in the other direction, you're relying on the second day, and then it is the Eirov, because then you're able to walk to the second Eirov on the first day. So that's a very important detail to add, and the Rambam added it later. Halacha Yud Daled. If Yom Tov is before Shabbos, Yom Tov Shecholi is bad of Shabbos. So if Yom Tov falls out the day before Shabbos, you can't suddenly, obviously we said before that if you're making for both days, so this is where this issue of making being kaina on Shabbos and Yom Tov comes in. So if you did it for the first day, you want to just extend to the second day, that's one thing. But if you want to go make an Eirov for Shabbos on Yom Tov, you can't do it. You have to do it on Thursday, Shu Erev Yom Tov. Do it in advance. What if it's 2 days of Yom Tov for Shabbos? So it's Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. So out of Miyam Revis, and then you have to do it the day before that, Wednesday. Erev Yom Tov, Erev Tchum, Erev Chatzeres. And if you forgot, you didn't make an Erev. So then you could make an Erev Chatzeres on Thursday and on Friday, Umasna with a Tanai, which he's about to explain in Halachat as well. Avaloi Erev Tchumen, but you can't make an Erev Tchumen. So let's see, what does the Maggid Mishnah say? The Maggid Mishnah says that this is a Gemara, that you can make a, that Rava said, the sheet that we go with is a Rava said that you could make a Tanai for the other Erev, but not for Erev Tchumen. The Mikni Shvisa, you mean Kaina Shvisa in the middle of Yom Tov, so that you're not allowed to do, to create a whole new certain element of Kinyan here. And the halacha is like Rava. So what's the difference between Erev Tchumen and Erev Chatzeres? Erev Tchumen, you're being Kaina Shvisa, you're saying, I'm over there. Erev Chatzeres, you're being Mevatel the Rishos, in a sense. That's what he says. You're being Mevatel the Rishos. So that's why you can make this Tanai that we're about to say. What's the Tanai? Lachat Azvav, Ketzad Masna, Emer B'Chamishi, you say on Thursday. Right now it's Sveika de Yom. We're going with the assumption here that the 2 days of Yom Tov is truly because of a Sveika de Yom. So you say, Ema Yom Yom Tov, if today is the real day of Yom Tov, this is really only one day. Ema Dvarei Klom, so this is nothing. But otherwise it is an Erev. And then you do it again the next day. If today's Yom Tov, if today's the real Yom Tov, then I made it yesterday in time, out of Yom Tov. which is truly the real Erev Yom Tov. Today's nothing. If yesterday was really Yom Tov, today's Chol Hamoed or whatever, today's the Eruv, so then today's is the Eruv. When do we say this? When it's Taka, the 2 days of Sveika D'Yoma. But when it's Rosh Hashanah 2 days, we don't treat it that way. We treat it as one long day. So then this trick wouldn't work. Before we say, I just want to point out that the Rambam really doesn't say it here, but in Hilchos on the Perek Vav, the Rambam gets into this again. He says, "Kol dvar me'elu shamarnu was bisman at the base in the night to Yisrael's mekadosh al pir de'iyah." So Yom Tov Sheni Shel Goliath was taka a real legitimate suffix. They probably didn't know what decision was reached in Eretz Yisrael, so they had to guess. But today, that even Bnei Eretz Yisrael are being semech on the cheshbon, and that's how we're mekadosh the year. So Yom Tov Sheni is not a suffix, but a minig. The Rambam says there, she'ein ma'arav adam u'masna b'zman hazeh, lo ye'erevei tavshilim, lo ye'erevei chatzeres, v'lo yeshutufim mevayas. Has to all be made of Yom Tov. Perek Rachmana d'Sayam.
Did the Rambam say this last thing?
That means by the time of the Ram, they already had a fixed calendar.